Hello, and welcome to another episode of IBOP, the podcast for IB students by an IB student. My name is Soso, and I will be your host for this episode. Today, we will cover the topic of culture and traditions. How did we come to have culture and traditions, and why they are important for humans to stay grounded, connected, and entertained? So, culture and traditions are the foundation of human connection, identity, and continuity. They shape how we express ourselves, how we relate to one another, and how we make sense of the world. Their significance extends beyond simple customs. For example, they provide meaning, they give us a sense of belonging, and link us to our ancestors. So let's begin by asking why traditions exist. Traditions serve multiple purposes. I will now list 5 of those very purposes. Number 1, they give us emotional fulfillment and joy. Many traditions bring happiness, whether through celebration, music, storytelling, or forms of rituals. They offer moments of connection and reflection. One such tradition is celebrating Christmas. It brings together family members and friends to celebrate and give gifts to one another. There are other holidays out there as well that serve to bring people together. It can be a wedding, a funeral, or a New Year's Eve celebration. Traditions vary between cultures, and our world is abundant in culture, which makes it a lot more beautiful and more fun. Number 2, order and structure. Traditions can establish a sense of stability in life. They create predictable patterns that provide comfort. There is something comforting about knowing that your birthday will be celebrated again in a year's time. Traditions can make us feel more alive, and like life flows even if we ourselves feel stuck in a pattern of mundane tasks and work. Time doesn't stop just because every day feels the same. Seasons will shift from autumn to winter and so on, and knowing this can feel peaceful and empowering. Number 3, passing down knowledge and values. Many traditions teach morals, ethics, and wisdom that help individuals navigate life. Thanksgiving, for instance, reminds us to practice gratitude in our everyday lives. So, having many different traditions can continuously remind us to stay happy and connected to the people we cherish. Also, there is something nice about celebrating a tradition that's been around for longer than us. It makes us feel less lonely and more connected to our ancestors. Number 4, strengthening identity and belonging. Traditions connect us to a larger group, family, nation, or humanity as a whole. They affirm who we are and where we come from. Different countries can have their own variants of the same holiday or tradition, or an entirely different one. That makes it more valuable and personal to each person, which can build more meaningful relationships, connections, and communities. And number 5, cultural evolution and innovation. Traditions don't remain static. They evolve, adapt, and sometimes merge, leading to new forms of art, philosophy, and social structures. It's fun to think about how traditions could be made up at any moment and situation, and it gives us more incentive to lean into our creativity and form bonds with ourselves as well as our close ones. So, having looked at 5 purposes of traditions, let's now move on to our next question. When did traditions begin? Humans have practiced traditions for tens of thousands of years. Early hunter-gatherers likely had rituals tied to seasons, birth, death, and community bonds. Cave paintings, burial rites, and ancient festivals suggest that even early humans felt the need to create continuity and meaning through traditions. Moving on to the role of culture in community and belonging. Culture strengthens human bonds. It gives people a shared language, sometimes quite literally, but also metaphorically through shared customs, music, food, and rituals. This sense of belonging reduces loneliness. It increases cooperation and it fosters a deep-rooted sense of identity. So, how does the existence of cultures and traditions impact our mental health? I thought that this would be a very important topic to cover because it's very important in our daily lives, especially for students in the IB. So I thought it would be interesting to bring in how cultures and traditions can impact our mental health. So they can have a profound impact on mental health, both positively and negatively. They shape our identity, as mentioned previously, they provide a sense of belonging, and they offer coping mechanisms for stress. However, certain cultural pressures or outdated traditions can also contribute to mental health struggles. So, let's begin with the positive impacts of culture and tradition on mental health. Number 1, it gives us a sense of belonging and community support. We have already talked about this, but it is a very crucial one. So, being part of a cultural group provides emotional support, and it reduces the feelings of isolation and loneliness. Rituals and shared customs create bonds that promote well-being. Number 2, structure and stability. Traditions create predictable routines, which can be comforting, especially during stressful times. And celebrations and rituals mark life events, helping people with stress, process change, and transitions. Number 3, identity and self-worth. So, culture gives people a sense of who they are, which can increase confidence and self-esteem. Knowing one's roots can provide strength and resilience in tough times. Number 4, coping mechanisms and healing practices. Many cultural traditions include spiritual or mindful practice. Example, meditation, prayer, music, or dance that help manage anxiety and stress. And storytelling, music, or art, they can provide creative outlets for processing emotions. And finally, number 5, encouragement of social connection. Festivals, religious gatherings, and family traditions encourage people to come together, strengthening social ties. Strong relationships are a key protective factor against depression and anxiety. So now that we've looked at the positives, let's move on to the negative impacts of culture and tradition on mental health. Number 1, cultural stigma around mental health. Some cultures discourage open discussions about mental health, leading to shame, secrecy, or lack of access to care. People might avoid seeking professional help due to fear of judgment. Number 2, the pressure to conform. Some traditions impose strict expectations regarding gender roles, career choices, marriage, or behavior, which can cause stress or self-doubt. And those who feel they don't fit in, for example, with cultural norms, may experience anxiety as well, or depression, or identity struggles. Number 3, intergenerational trauma. Certain cultural histories involve war, colonization, or oppression, leading to inherited trauma that can affect mental well-being for generations. Traditions linked to past suffering can sometimes reinforce painful memories rather than provide healing. And number 4, exclusion and discrimination. Cultural divides can sometimes lead to social exclusion or prejudice, affecting individuals' sense of self-worth and mental stability. Those from marginalized cultural backgrounds may experience discrimination, which contributes to stress and mental health issues. So when looking at all of these points, the best way, I think, to incorporate culture and tradition is to find a healthy balance. Culture and tradition can be powerful tools for mental well-being, but it's essential to evaluate which aspects to uplift and which may need to evolve. We can discuss 3 points regarding this. We can embrace traditions that provide joy, connection, and healing. We can adapt cultural expectations that cause unnecessary stress or harm. And we can encourage open discussions about mental health within cultural communities. So in short, culture can be a source of strength and healing, but it should evolve in ways that support mental wellness rather than hinder it. So, now we come to the most exciting part, in my opinion, which is the question that came to me when doing the research. So, the question is, what if all culture disappeared? So, what I came to conclude is that if culture vanished just one beautiful morning, everything was gone, the world might feel empty, directionless, and disconnected. Without art, music, stories, and traditions, life could become monotonous. However, some might argue it could be freeing, in the sense that people wouldn't be bound by societal expectations. But would that freedom be fulfilling? Or would it feel isolating? Most likely humans would instinctively start to rebuild culture from scratch, because the need for connection is just that strong, and you want to have meaning in life, and that idea is very deeply ingrained in us human beings. So in essence, culture is what makes life rich and colorful, and without it we lose not only our past, but also a key part of what makes us human. Alright, we have come to the end of this episode. So to summarize, what we talked about is cultures and traditions are the foundations of human connection, identity development, and continuity. It helps us feel connected to the past, but also the present and the future that is coming. It encourages us to communicate with others and express ourselves in a way that educates and gives life meaning. It serves as a source of comfort in the mundane, and it reminds us that life goes on and does not stand still. And finally, it is important to recognize how it can benefit our mental well-being by feeling a sense of belonging and community support. Not to mention, it teaches us to appreciate our individuality as well as the connection we have with other people. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the IBOP, and enjoy the rest of your day or night. And don't forget to celebrate the small things in life. Yes, that was meant to rhyme. Goodbye.